to come last Tuesday.
There you go. Should be good.
We'll call the December meeting to order. Rita's out today, and so it looks like we have our quorum. If we would rise for a moment, we'll have a pledge to the flag and a moment of silence. Okay, let's have our moment of silence. Thank you.
Dr. G, I'd like to mention that school system lost a longtime employee, Buddy Giesler. Many of you know Buddy, passed away 2 nights ago. He was a science teacher at T.A. Duggar think his entire career. Y'all can clarify that, but want to remember their family.
Thank you. Attention, salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item we have, we're pleased to have the graduation class of 1957 with us today. And Greg Bowers, if you'd come forward, we'd invite you to speak on their behalf.
We'd just like to say thank you to all of you for what you mean to our community and our school system.
Dr. Gardenauer and members of the board, I'm Greg Bowers, and I am very honored to be here representing the Elizabethton High School graduating class of 1957. I was approached recently by some of the members to assist in presenting a scholarship to the board to be known as the EHS Class of 57 Scholarship. A plan of organization and agreement have been prepared and submitted for your consideration, and I believe that you'll find that the proposed scholarship is truly unique among those that exist and have existed for many years. I was personally amazed and thrilled to learn that this scholarship has been in private existence for over 20 years now, having benefited dozens of students at Elizabethton High School since 1997. Guidance counselor Melanie Hartley and others at the school have been assisting the class members in awarding the scholarship now for some time. Several members of the class, recognizing the uncertainty of life, also recognize that in order for the scholarship to remain viable, it would need to be officially recognized by this board, and that control and disbursements would need to be transferred to the high school and its bookkeeper. With that background in mind, this scholarship is for a minimum of 4 incoming seniors at EHS each year, in an amount not less than $500 each, based solely on financial need, to be used by the student to assist with senior year academic and social expenses, including but not limited to ACT expense, dual enrollment expenses, and prom and other graduation expenses. This money will enhance their senior year both academically and socially, and it's the class members' hope that the funds will encourage these students to rise above their circumstances and will foster the students' pursuit of excellence in academic skills, citizenship, leadership, and those individual qualities that will lead to successful and rewarding futures. The scholarships, which are to be anonymously given to present any embarrassment to the recipients, are to be chosen during the first semester of the senior year by the scholarship committee. The scholarship committee will be chaired by the current principal at EHS, with the EHS guidance counselors and members of the class of 57 and their respective spouses and children, providing necessary input to choose the appropriate recipients in a non-discriminatory way. It's the hope of the class that other members of our extended community will recognize the need for and the importance of the scholarships that they created decades ago, and will want to contribute to the fund to make this a perpetuating fund where only the interest generated on the underlying investment will be disbursed each year. Class members have been encouraged to make current and testamentary gifts to the fund, and they are asking the community to do the same. This is truly a unique opportunity to help high school students while they are still at EHS. On behalf of the members of the class of 57, I thank you for your support of this worthy cause, and I commend the class members for the love that they have shown throughout the years with their generosity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If we could have all of our classmates of 57, if you could come up, we'd love to get a picture of you and to recognize you.
It's a very generous thing that you're doing for our system, and I just want to say on behalf of us, that we're very appreciative for our students, for our community, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts to do that. It's a great thing that you're doing. Hope to see the community supported as well.
And they brought their banner.
Very good.
Good for you.
And our 69 classmates who attended the reunion this year, we brought the picture.
Wonderful.
Right.
They're represented here tonight.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Those of us here in town.
Good.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you all. This is a great idea. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Oh, it's wonderful. I had two girls that were seniors, and senior years gets expensive. Thank you. It's a wonderful idea. We appreciate you.
I figure they know that.
Huh?
Claire never tells me she loves me.
They know that. Sounds like an invitation. Forget them.
Hey, you're the boss.
We thank you again for coming out tonight. We'll move on into our regular agendas in just a moment. Huh?
They can escape if they.
Yeah, you can escape if you want to. Don't feel obligated. We'd be honored to have you stay, but you're welcome to if you would like. It's time for citizens to speak in accordance with Board Policy 1.404. The policy requires advance notice, and nobody has given their notice, so just remind the public that if they would like to appear before the board, if they would turn their interest in with a week prior to, then we can put them on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is to approve the consent and regular agenda. Can I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Or any discussion? Sorry, any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move items
Oh,
9
yes.
and 10 to the regular agenda, if I may, please.
Okay. Have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, so the amended motion is to move items 9 and 10, which I'm not going to read those. To remove items 9 and 10 into the regular agenda. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
All right. Move into the regular agenda with items 9 and 10 added then. And Dr. Gardner, you're up.
We've had a very, very good month in Elizabethton City Schools. We have a lot to be proud of. A lot that I'd like to tell you is that we, during the Christmas season, we had money for each school to have their exemplary luncheon because we're an exemplary school system. That went over very well. A lot of them, made it coincide with the holidays, and so we really appreciate all of our teachers and faculty and staff for what they've done to make us an exemplary system. And as you can see, we have our new banner based on last year's exemplary district that we are, and so we're very proud of that. One of the things that I've been doing in the last month is sitting down talking with teachers about what they thought that we needed to look at as far as our budget process went, how they felt that the way we were spending our money prior to going into our budget process, are there things that we could do that really would help them for little or no cost, and in some cases for cost, that we really need to look at to make us even better than what we are. And so I've really enjoyed going to schools and sitting with teachers and talking with them about what the future holds and what we think that we'll have this budget process cycle. So I plan to come to the budget process this year with a lot of information based on how we're doing, just having feedback from them, and I think it'll inform our budget process in a great way. We sent several administrators to the Special Ed Legal Conference this past month. Well, actually this month, early this month. And we're looking forward to hearing from them about the new legal ramifications of the new court cases that are going on in the state of Tennessee and beyond. And they'll be training our other administrators very soon. We're looking forward also to TA Duggar, the project that we have that City Council's looking at. As you know, based on last month's City Council agenda, they approved for us to move forward looking at drawings from Mr. Weems and approved for us to come and do a workshop with them. It is tentatively scheduled. I'm waiting on the mayor to respond. He and I were in communication today. I'm waiting for him to respond on the actual date and time. We're thinking it may be January 4th at 11 at City Hall, but we are not confirmed on that yet. That's our tentative date at this point. We are raising money for our EHS art space, and this is a place for our band and drama and everyone to perform in the middle, as well as our Bartleby project. And Mr. Terry Smith and I are working on that together. We're out raising money as we speak on that. We had a meeting with Milligan College this week as far as a partnership would go for our Bartleby program, and we will do further meetings with them coming up. They really want to ingrain dual enrollment and opportunities for specific students that need specific courses and classes to move their education forward and their passion forward. And we think it's going to be a great partnership, and we look forward to working with them in the coming months to finalize what we'll be doing for the coming year. I would like to thank the principals and Ms. Wilson and her staff for all their hard work. Tonight you'll have on the agenda the audit, which was very good for our entire school system. They've worked very hard, and they all work together, and we appreciate everything that she does to keep us fiscally sound. We had an announcement today. Becca Price announced we received a $30,000 grant for Camp Read a Lot this summer, and that was Julie Hartsook, and they all worked on that together. And thank you, Becca and Julie and all the people involved. And that will go along with another grant that we have for the summer, so we can really provide to students that really need help with reading. We'll be able to provide those services basically to the school system almost free of charge to us, but it will really help them. And my last is Hannah. She had something she would like to bring up this evening.
So today I kind of wanted to talk about last year the board approved a new attendance policy where now you can miss 5 days with a doctor's excuse. And I think that that was a really great idea. But there was a lot of confusion among students, and I know teachers as well, about exactly how those days were allowed to be missed and how many you could miss with and without a doctor's excuse and how many you could miss being called out. So I think that the 5 days is a good thing to have, but I just think that the next maybe like handbook that we make, it should be more specified and clear about exactly how many days you can miss with each thing.
Okay. And I told her we would take a look at that. We do an annual revision on our handbook, and we will make sure to take that into consideration. Mr. Hobson and Ms. Nelson, mark that down. Okay, that's all.
Was there any problem with the policy itself, or just the wording of the policy? Or the wording
I think it was just the learning curve. A lot of teachers weren't sure to tell their kids whether or not they had to take semester exams or whether or not they were exempt because of the way that the days were set. And I think people were just a little bit confused by
As I dealt with this for 15 years, it is with exam exempt, it's just tough to, what is a true, how do you define a medical excuse?
Yeah.
It's tough. And y'all got it's just hard to get down to the definition sometimes, I think, of, some children can't afford to see a physician, but yet they're truly sick. And to me, that's the child that does not need to be penalized by the wording of policy. So just an opinion.
Okay, we'll make some notes, and what we'll try to do is work on the wording, and maybe you can help us with that. We'll work together on that, and then we'll try to look at what we'll do for our revision.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. That's all I have.
Okay. Any board members have any other items they wanted to talk about? All right, Mr. Hurley, you were going to give us an update on East Side. I appreciate you coming up.
I guess I'm not as tall. There we go. Thank you for the opportunity. I think the last couple of times I'm supposed to be doing this, we've had lots of things going on at East Side, parent involvement nights and those great things. Always look forward to talking about East Side, but more importantly, I enjoy highlighting the people of East Side. Last year I got to talk about what makes East Side special to kids. I had those letters and shared those with you guys. I'd been thinking a lot about our teachers here lately and how hard they work. So I went to Mary Pierce today, who has been teaching at East Side for 30 plus years and 28 of those in the same classroom. And I went to Mary, I said, Mary, I need you to write about East Side. And she's like, I can do that. So I'm going to share what she wrote. East Side Elementary has been my home away from home for the past 30 years. Yes, I have been in the same classroom and have taught third grade the entire time. Little did I know being transferred from Elizabethton High School 30 years ago was the best thing that has ever happened to me. I've had the pleasure to teach under 4 principals, Mr. Ronald Taylor, Mr. Randy Lacey, Dr. Josh Wandale, and now Mr. Travis Hurley. I have taught with some remarkable teachers over the years and seen many changes. One thing that remains the same, though, is the family we have here at East Side. The students are cared for and loved beyond measure. Our students come from diverse populations where cultures are intertwined and traditions are evident. We insist on rigorous standards. Our commitment is to the whole child. This is my favorite part of her letter. From their ABCs to their worn-out jeans. We have a very active PTO. We have moms and dads here on a weekly basis helping out where needed. The community involvement is strong. She said we have seen local churches come in and measure and deliver shoes for some of our students. Our entire staff strives to ensure each and every student has what they need. Our students are very appreciative of anything and everything that is done for them. She also says if you are out and about anywhere from 7:30 to 8 o'clock in the mornings, swing by East Side and watch the students being dropped off in the car line. It is the highlight of most of their days, and I can't think of a better way to start the day than a smile and a song. We play music, and Mr. Brown and I dress up quite often, but I didn't wear an outfit. Mr. Hobson was a little upset I didn't wear one today. She said, East Side is Elizabethton's best-kept secret. We are a small school with a big heart. I cannot begin to imagine teaching anywhere else but here at East Side. But I enjoy getting those things. I'm actually going to keep this one from her, and I'm going to frame it for her because that was pretty cool that she wrote that. So I always enjoy sharing people because we always say it's not about programs at East Side, it's about the people. So thanks for the opportunity for me to talk about them. So and if you ever want to come by, swing in. It's a fun day. Never a dull moment.
Thank you, Mr. Hurley.
All right, thank you. The first item on the regular agenda is approved creation of a part-time cook position at Westside Elementary. Details are in attachment 11. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Dr. Gardner, you want to tell us about it?
This is just basically we're trying to feed all of our children, and we need some extra help. So that's a good problem to have.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it carries. The next one, aye for me as well. Sorry. Next one is item 8 is approve the creation of RTI specialists positions whose salary will be funded through Title I funds. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
And discussion?
These particular positions, we had a little bit of unexpected income this year in Title I. As the year went on, we found that these positions we're hoping can help our students, especially working with everyone. These will be hopefully retired teachers that could come back and work with them. We would want to track them to come back and work with our students. And it'll be paid for through Title I dollars that are already budgeted.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Are we pretty well set with Title I funds, you think,
In what sense?
from the federal standpoint?
For now.
For now, okay.
So we'll see what this year's budget ensues. the budget discussions really are going to start probably March.
Mm-hmm.
We have some idea of initial allocations in April. At that point, we will, try to float that for about a month while we're getting our budget done and finalized. I really hope, as the president has put out many times, that he will fully fund Title I, and that would really help us. And what we're trying to do is help all children, and so we're in hopes at this point.
Okay. Any further? Item on the floor is to approve the creation of RTI specialist positions whose salary will be funded through Title I. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it carries. Next item is approve proposed ECS calendar for 2018 to 19, which is in attachment 12. Motion to
moved.
approve.
Second.
Okay, a calendar committee, Mr. Van Huss heads up our calendar committee. Mr. Hutchins is our other supervisor that's involved with the process along with myself. We all work together with representatives from every school, and they have voted on this calendar changes and have taken it back and vetted it with their individual buildings, and they all came up and felt this is the best calendar we could come up with that addressed a lot of the needs that we had for the coming year.
Just one comment, and I don't know that this will take place for 2018, but I know there's a move afront to possibly make Patriots Day, which is 9/11, a holiday. And that, to me, when it's next year or the following year, that would be a good idea to have that as a parent-teacher conference day where parents don't have to take a day off if that it does end up being. I don't think that's going to happen by 2018, but I know there is a move afoot on that.
We will mark that down for consideration for this coming year.
Any other issues or discussion? Appreciate the hard work that the calendar committee did. This is always a hard one, and it takes a lot of haggling to get it right with all the exam requirements and when you've got to cover things. I would hate to be on that committee, but glad I'm not. So with that said, the item on the floor is to approve the proposed ECS calendar for the 2018-2019 school year. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Next item is item 10, to approve the independent auditor's report of Elizabethton Board of Education internal school funds, regulatory basis in Elizabethton City Schools, a component unit of the City of Elizabethton, Tennessee financial statements and supplemental information for the fiscal year ended in June 30, 2017. That's in the separate attachment. You should have two books before you. Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Again, we're proud of Ms. Wilson and her staff to have so many running years of looking at what we have, just minor. We always have something the auditors would love for us to work on, but it's very minor and with a clean audit.
I would just like to recognize that all three elementary schools have first-year bookkeepers at my office.
Right.
That's very good.
Yeah.
And
Great work, as always.
Absolutely.
I'd like to second Dr. Gardner's comments to Ms. Wilson. Every year, it's just an amazing amount of work, amazing amount of numbers, and amazing amount of work, and we really appreciate it.
And I bragged on you today at work because I showed these and said, look how good these audits are. Look at these reports. It's awesome. And it's this way every year. All right. Any more discussion? Item on the floor is to approve the independent auditor's report of Elizabethton Board of Education internal school funds, regulatory basis, and Elizabethton City Schools, a component unit of the City of Elizabethton, Tennessee. Financial statements and supplemental information for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2017. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It looks like no opposed. Next item will be item 11 for the minutes, and that is item 9 on your consent agenda, which was moved. That is to approve the second reading and adoption of Board Policy 6.300, Code of Behavior, and discipline as revised, which is found in attachment 9. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
I only brought this up because if we're, I was looking at number 10, and if we're going to rescind 6.314, we should also rescind 6.313, and then, because we're doing that, we should take the language out of 6.300 about corporal punishment, because I believe that's what we're eliminating by eliminating 6.314 and 313.
So you're referencing 10. On item 9, are you wanting to take these together and then talk about them together?
Yes, because they're basically the same. I mean, number 10, we're going to rescind 6.314, and the language is still in 6.300.
Okay, I think that makes sense. We can put them together, but we have to amend we'll have to make an amendment to this to combine these two, and I'll need a second to that. I'll take that as a motion to go on 9 and 10
Okay.
together. Is that
Sure.
okay? Which will reflect as items 11 and 12 in the regular agenda.
I believe it's just an oversight, because we're going to rescind 6.314, and that language is still in 6.300.
So we'll discuss.
I'm a little confused. In our last meeting, you know, the number 10, I think we voted not to rescind that. Is that correct?
It was put back on the consent agenda. And basically, I think I'll not instruct the board, but I will just give a little piece of information. I think that it'd be beneficial for us the discussion really needs to be whether the board would support corporal punishment or the board would not support it. We then could go through and look at the individual policies and make them and the wording match what the board's will was, and then come back and put one item on the agenda or two, depending on what happened with 6.300, or if we went back and we looked at it, if we looked at that. But the major key question in this is the board in support of corporal punishment as a disciplinary procedure within the school system or not? And putting it plainly, at that point, we would go back, if the board was not in favor, we would go back to 6.314, we'd pull that and we would rescind that policy, and then we would go back and look at 6.313 and 6.300 and make that match the will of the board. So in essence, that's the key question of underlying that. And I think last meeting we were kind of going back and forth with rescinding, not rescinding, but that is the key question in front of the board.
Because basically, we voted not to rescind and to keep it in place.
That's correct.
And now we're saying here that we're voting to rescind. It would be the opposite of what, yeah. So I agree, we need to put it to rest, and we need to explain and make sure we're all understand what we're voting on.
I guess, and I'm gonna go again on record, I'm not in favor of corporal punishment, but if our state recognizes it in Tennessee Code Annotated, and Travis paddles a student after this policy is rescinded, is that an act of insubordination on his part?
Yes.
And then part of the problem I have with the actual policy itself, I think, is, you know, in line number 7, it says an attempt shall be made to contact the parents prior to initiation of court. I think more than an attempt. I don't think any parent would want something like this without them knowingly or being there and witnessing or being part of it. You know, I have a little problem with that portion of it.
Okay. So just as a point of order, we're kind of on two different policies. I think, you know, she made a motion to put them together and discuss them. And then I heard another point, which is, I think the real issue is whether or not we approve of corporal punishment. And then, so in that case, maybe I guess we need to either talk about them independently or merge them So I need a second on her motion, and then we can vote to take them together and
He
talk about it.
seconded.
Oh, you second it?
second.
Okay, so we need to vote on that. All in favor?
So we're voting on,
I'm sorry, the motion is to bring items 9 and 10 from the consent agenda together as one vote, one discussion. Otherwise, they're independent policies, and we have to vote up or down 6.300 first, or change the order, and
But
then
clarification,
6.314.
if we dump 10,
Mhm,
9 takes care of itself.
exactly.
That's right.
Exactly, yep.
Okay.
But what was
And
your
we can take-
suggestion,
we can take
Dr.
10
Cornell, was
first,
to-
but-
to-
I think I was just getting down to the real point of what the,
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to instruct you on what you needed to discuss, but I
Okay.
felt like when it gets down to whatever decision, it really comes
Mm-hmm.
down to that one key focal point. Is the board in support of that, or are they not? And how we combine these at that point, if you would then instruct me to go back and work on the policies, whichever way you would have me do it, then I would go back and we would look at these and we would put on what to approve for next month. I just know that we got into a wayward discussion
Yeah.
last time, and we were trying to rescind, not rescind, and what that was gonna mean for certain items, but I think if the board would, decide that and come up with that, then what we would do is make the policies match the will of the board. Okay? So if what Dr. May is saying is that, and what has been motioned and seconded was to put those together, I think the idea is that would then in essence say, we're putting these together, we're going to then make a decision on whether corporal punishment is permitted or not, and then we would move forward with that for next month for a second reading.
So bringing those two motions together, which, to clarify the reading, would be to approve the second reading and adoption of Board Policy 6.300, Code of Behavior and Discipline as revised, and approve the second reading and adoption to rescind Board Policy 6.314, Corporal Punishment, as one motion, as one item for discussion.
So basically, if I vote yes, I'm voting to do away with corporal punishment.
That
No,
is-
you're just voting to combine these two.
Right now, we're just
Oh,
voting to
okay.
combine the two for discussion.
Yeah, your
Sorry,
question's
yes.
coming
I'm
up next.
just-
You're on it, yeah.
Okay, I think, I just want to clarify that.
Well,
Yeah.
what are we gonna
Thank you.
do with 6.313 then? We're gonna
Six point three
combine?
one three.
Yeah, we've approved it last time,
Yeah, that's
Okay.
approved.
so we'll have to bring it back. So the real issue we need to get to, and the reason to combine them, is so that we can then talk about, if we change corporal punishment, then we need to take and
That's
come
the
back
issue.
with 313, 314, and
Right.
300.
Right.
So the motion and the second was to amend the original motion, which was approving item 9 to be 9 and 10 together.
That's correct.
So this vote is only a procedural vote. So all those in favor of combining them for discussion?
Aye?
Aye. And no opposed? Okay. Then that's what we've been doing, so we'll just continue our discussion now and go into the real issue, which is the meat and potatoes. I know that seems crazy, but making sure that we actually that there's no procedural rules violated.
Right.
The corporal punishment seems to be the biggest issue, so whoever would like to begin?
May I ask a question of one of our principals?
Yes?
You all do this. What is your, I mean, we want to support you all.
I have never paddled a kid, ever. There's 1,000 things I'll get to before I paddle a kid on my end, because they're hitting. I can't paddle a kid for hitting. If I say don't hit and I'm paddling, it's like whipping your child. If your child's hitting his brother and you whip your child, like don't hit your brother with your bat, you whip him. If not, so I've never paddled anybody in my 3 years.
I'm yet to battle anyone either. When it originally came up, I've used it as a deterrent. I think it's worked for me as a deterrent. But
You mean I hate to use the word, the threat?
Exactly. Out there, but I've never come to the point where I actually have gone that far, that we have the papers to have signed, have parental signatures. I know, Mr. Isaac's concern with a parent not being contacted. I think I can speak for Travis, Josh, John, and Randy all and saying that would never happen. You know, we would never battle a child without a parent being on board and being in group, you know, as far as walking them through it, talking them through it, and having them be part of it.
Can I say something? So what I don't understand, if a parent is so intent upon, like if they will sign to have their child punished corporally, could they not just do it themselves outside of the school system? And then that would be that family's choice and not our decision to make.
Certainly.
It certainly could.
Absolutely.
And I think that would probably be an offer that if I were a principal, I'd allow them to do it.
Yeah.
But I think the issue, and you brought it up, that at hand is there's a state law that allows it. The policies, if we put a policy that goes against the state law and a teacher or a principal should utilize that or need or even threaten to utilize that. That's my bigger fear, is that someone may say, I'm going to do this, then there may be a consideration of a threat that was being made that wasn't even doable, and therefore harassment or bullying type from that standpoint, because the state of Tennessee is one of the states that does recognize this as a form. I think what gave me, because as a medical professional, I can tell you this isn't something that we take lightly, and the field, psychologists will agree that this is not an effective means of punishment. But if you read the articles are all referencing parental involvement in a home that do it repetitively, that they are, in general, when they study these, there are groups of kids who this was their common form of punishment. And what gave me peace about it last time as we discussed it was not a form that was commonly utilized. It was really a deterrent, and the studies that talk about corporal punishment as a deterrent are like prisons as deterrents. You know, most people don't go to prison, but the fact that you could, you know, we don't kidnap people because they did something wrong. We shouldn't teach you to kidnap. But at the same time, the deterrent of being incarcerated by the state establishes a discipline and who's in charge. And the ability to have that in your back pocket is more important than the ability to use it. Nuclear weapons, take for instance. Other countries know that you have them. You're never going to use them, we hope. But the fact that you have them keeps you safer. And I think that's the way I viewed it when we talked about the policy, was if we have it in our policies, it allows a process. And if you really read this process, I agree with Phil that the issue is, you know, an attempt should probably be changed to will be contacted. But other than that, the policy makes it the last line of resort, and it's only for those rare occasions at which point everything else has failed. And that's different than what happens in homes when you study it as a psychologist. As a psychologist, you're saying we resort to spanking our children, and that's not really effective, but that's not what we're debating. We're debating a last resort deterrency type measure that is for the person who's really not doing it, and that's why you've not done that in the years. And when I speak to law enforcement and other people, they tell me that, you know, there are real consequences, and they're sometimes they're hard to get across with grounding, or, you know, you're going to have another assignment, you have to write an essay or spell these words 100 times on the chalkboard. There are some people that doesn't speak to, and physical violence should never be our first line. It should be our last line, if ever, and it should never be violent. It should be loving, and it should be after, and it should never be done in haste. But this puts the brakes on all those and says, you got to go through these other mechanisms. So for me, having the policy doesn't mean we're going to approve doing it. But conceptually, philosophically, it goes against my grain to say we ought to just go out and have corporal punishment because it says something about a system. You know, it's an antiquated, dated way of punishing children. And it, you know, it's just so variable, but that was my only reason, was I think the policy prevents it from being misused. The state allows it to be used, but we certainly have the ability to take it out of everything that we ever do, and all that to me does is take it out of the potential threat category. because I don't see it being used.
Well, I hate to do this again, but since got a lack of a second last time, I think I would favor tabling this till Ms. Boer's here, and I feel exactly the way you do. I really do, and I totally agree with Ms. Peters. I guess it bothers me to move away from something that the state approves, and I'm not saying the state's right,
Yeah.
but
Well, this is the third meeting we've talked about it, and I think it's wonderful that we talk to the principals who are in office right now, and I'm very heartened by what they say, but policies outlast principles, and I just believe that we shouldn't even have it in the language, period. I think it's, as Dr. May just said, it's antiquated. I don't think this public schools should be involved in any way in using physical violence. We teach these kids constantly not to bully, not to hit, not to pick on each other. If the parents paddle their children, there's nothing we can do about that. But even if the state allows it, I do not think that my school district or other school districts, which we can't control, should even have the language in place. I think you've got a dozen other things that will work before you lay your hands on a child. And as far as deterrent, you know, you can always say that's a deterrent, but I would think that most children who know that their parents are going to paddle them, the deterrent is the fact that if you call my parents, I'm going to get paddled. I think that is enough right there. I just philosophically do not think the public schools should be involved in even having the possibility of using violence with children. I think it sends the wrong message.
Again, I think the key to this, though, is parental involvement.
Mm-hmm.
And if you attempt and don't get that attempt and perform it anyway without the parent being involved, that concerns me a little. I mean, if the parents are involved, you know, they can say, yeah, do it, or if they really object to it, I'm sure that, like Mr. Walter and these guys saying, you know, they wouldn't do it without contacting them and without their input, I'm sure.
With Dr. Gardner has worked with us over the years, and we have specific procedure to call, you know, to have someone present, to have the parent know that we're in the right frame of mind, that we have filled in those boxes. I just can't relate to that extent because I've never gotten that far, and I guess what Mr. Hurley said is he is not either. I understand 100% what Ms. Peters just said. I guess I've never really thought that much about it until the last board meeting when this came up as far as getting in depth because I've not been there. Maybe that's experience, longevity, I'm not sure.
So, if I heard you, you made a motion to postpone this to the next meeting and continue discussion. And I heard you say it, but I didn't actually allow you to.
I'm not sure I made it in form of a motion. I think.
All right. I was listening. I was trying to read what I had to do on that. And, I'm supposed to. That's a higher priority than where we were as far as a subsidiary motion in Robert's rules. So, you know, if that is your motion, but if it's not, we'll keep going.
No, I'll make
Is that a form of I want to second that motion because I would like for Ms. Boer to be here to be part of the discussion and to be able to vote on something like this.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so if you have a subsidiary motion, we have to vote on the subsidiary motion, which is to postpone to the next meeting the continued discussion of items 9 and 10, corporal punishment. I don't want to confuse it, but I think we ought to add 6.313 to that as well. Can I?
No, I agree. Any of the referrals,
So that we're
I think
doing-
our issue's 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so,
And
too.
then if that's changed, then we go back and, as Dr. Gardner said, we go back and clean up the language in the other two policies.
Well, I would second your motion only on the premise to wait for Ms. Boer. I think we've discussed it enough, but to wait for Ms. Boer, I would second that.
All right, so, yes.
Can I also, is there any will on the board? I know you'll vote on this motion. Is there any will on the board that I know we'll clean up language. Do you want us to put anything in 6.314 talking about the fact that parents will be notified prior to us
I would feel a
bringing
little
that back
better
to the
about
board.
If we keep it, yes, I agree,
Okay.
Phil.
So that may be a separate motion, but
Is
I
that a
just wanted to.
subsidiary?
I can't make a motion. I'm just saying, I wanted to make sure that we brought back what you wanted to look at this next meeting. So we have 6.313, 6.300, 6.314. But
Okay, so,
I'm just making sure we have ready what you want.
okay, so if we're going to do that order, we have to amend the motion first and then postpone it after that. So if you want to amend it to have all three and change the language to say will be notified, that's one motion, that's an amendment. And I assume that's yours, Phil.
Do I need to make that in a motion? Okay,
I can't make it, I'm
so moved.
chairing, so.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay.
Any discussion on that amendment? And just to restate it, we're making the amendment to add 6.313 and language that states to notify the parent that they must be notified. Will be notified. Shall be notified. Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? No? All right, and then the second one was to postpone to a certain time, which is the next, which was Tyler's, and I think
I second.
you seconded that, and you thirded it. You said you were okay with Ms. Brewer being here? Okay, so all in favor of all three of these next time?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. Geez, y'all made it hard today. I thought it was supposed to be easy.
It's a complicated issue.
All right. So the next regularly scheduled meeting will be on Tuesday, January 16 at 6:30 in the Mac Pierce Boardroom. I'll adjourn.
So moved.